Municipal bankruptcies allow the enemy at the gates the key to the city for pennies on the dollar. Chapter 1 of the receiver, by the receiver, and for the receiver. So the implementation phase is beginning as the globalist spider starts crawling down its Main Street strand on schedule for 2012. This year, thousands of cities and towns across the country are and will be declaring or attempting to declare bankruptcy. Many will be taken over by unelected receivers, administrative governors, appointed by the courts to reorganize them into streamlined corporate-like entities. This will not just be a financial reorganization, no. That's just the main plot device. Several off-book subplot devices will be used to ensure stability of these reorganizations. This new dramatic transformation can be illustrated by the case of Central Falls, Rhode Island, with its central character, the state-appointed receiver and former state Supreme Court Justice Robert G. Flanders, Jr. Usurping broad powers beyond any financial reorganization, His Lordship Flanders, without hesitation or muse, fired the police chief, laid off specific police officers, instituted a new police recruit entrance exam, banned overnight street parking, and even granted a business license to a massage parlor, all without any oversight from, well, anyone. Viewing these odd and seemingly unconnected edicts more like tactics rather than arbitrary whims helps to shed some light on what appears to be an overall strategy. First and foremost is the unquestionable ability of enforcement, hence the immediate and structural changes made to the police. It seems important to note here that the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, has been giving away $20 billion worth of military hardware and riot control equipment to local law enforcement nationwide over the last 10 years. The DHS has also begun training local police under its new 2011 Strategic Implementation Plan, or SIP. SIP is a training program designed to aggressively identify and interrupt violent extremist threats, like pro-life demonstrators. It has also been widely rumored that new police exams tend toward a much more aggressive personality for a passing score. With these tools already being placed inside the police department, restaffing is all that's needed upon takeover to complete a new, powerful assault force of intimidation from its former peace officer status. His Lordship Flanders, armed with a hand-picked police chief, an armory of high-tech war gear, and a posse of Adderall-addled soldier police, can more easily clamp down on any dissension. C. Silencing the disgruntled, upon discovering that their town has been sold off to the global offshore banking cartel, will now be quick and painful. As to the ban on overnight parking, well, this is essentially a curfew for cars. A first logical step of conformity towards a curfew for people. Since parking can require a prepaid permit or parking meters, the banning of such an easy profit center just seems not to make any financial sense. So then, if not financial prudence, why else? Well, no reason was given. It was simply ordered. When the townspeople rose up and petitioned against it, a new privilege to park was then granted by His Lordship Flanders. What appears to be the greatest victory for Flanders is the establishment of King's Law over the former Democratic municipal ordinance. As to the massage parlor, well, it had previously been denied a license also by municipal ordinance, and had not even drawn a whimper of contest from the citizenry. However, in keeping with Roman Empire-styled psychology, debauchery is a necessary evil to help unhinge a community from its moral identity. This aids in making the subjects more pliable to change. Without permission to oppose, King's Law was again enacted. this time with municipal morality included within its domain. It should also be noted here that the former mayor literally had to turn in his key to the city as he and his $72,000 salary were canceled. The Central Falls City Council was then, by Flanders' noble edict, reduced to advisory-only status. Once the town's organization of democracy was effectively invalidated, city workers were laid off, city contracts nullified, and city retiree pensions were slashed. For all of these fiscal labors of love, to save his subjects, his lordship Flanders begrudgingly took a paltry raise from $250,000 to a mere $300,000. With growing confidence, avoided democratic process, and otherwise weakened opposition, Lord Flanders will undoubtedly escalate his nobility rights as he begins selling public property and services to private interests out of fiscal responsibility. If history is any guide, and it always is, the citizenry of Central Falls, Rhode Island are now on a fast track to serfdom with a tin pot dictator at the helm. Soon we'll discover that some charitable global offshore banking corporation or compassionate private equity firm, formerly despised as corporate raiders, owns everything, including the town's very own militarized police force. Central Falls' transformational fate from a city to a corporate holding will be complete, all bought for pennies on the dollar and paid for under the guise of financial recovery. This blueprint for fundamental transformation, fundamental to where have I heard that before, upon successful execution will no doubt be replicated across the country thousands of times over this year alone. How did it all begin? Well, that's for another scribbling. But generally speaking, during the so-called boom years, these same cities were suckered into taking surplus funds generated from their tax revenues and municipal bond sales and buying into the same type of up to 70-to-1 bets that are now taking down the entire European Union. The vampire squid, Goldman Sachs, that is allegedly behind the EU crisis is the same gaggle of Wall Street whiz kids who also allegedly planned and executed thousands of the same type of mysterious Main Street money murders that bankrupted Central Falls, Rhode Island. So, the globalist spider with its myriad of municipal prey, now each securely stuck in its web, begins to paralyze them all and wrap them tightly for a millennium of meals. I'm Timothy Alvaro, and that's the national news. Good night.